Hello, this is Christian. In this video, I'm going to show you how to render lists using loops in React. So here in the IDE, I'm going to open the index file. And this is something we kind of did earlier with the demo stuff. And so I'm going to create a new file in here. Just for this demo, I'm going to call it inside the demo folder as well. I'll call it loops.js. Okay, even though I call it loops, I'm going to export it as an app. So I don't have to change the original in the front. So I'm going to go and just copy the CSS part here. Okay, so this part here, or just the return part, basically. Yeah, I want to keep the div tag. That's all I'm going to do here. Okay, so I'm going to go here, and then we'll do the import the React from React. You need that namespace, and we'll do a well, I guess we can do a class component, call it app as well, even though I call it loops. So just for this demo purposes, usually you call the same thing as your file, but this one here is just fine for now. It extends the React component, and then we're going to return render, and then we return. Oops, I forgot to put the curlies here. And then we'll return well, I have duplicate. I should just leave one of those. And right click and format. All right, so we'll remove these guys. I just keep the div tag. I want to keep that space in there. And then at the bottom here, we're going to do export default. And this is going to be the app. Okay, so I save that. Let's go to the index, and I'm going to change this to say not apps, but it'll be, let me just comment this out. I'll do Control Alt Shift Alt, I think, and duplicate that line. Okay, turn this off. It'll be from the loops. I know it's funny, but it's just the exporting is more important. Okay, so let's save that, and let's go and run the app. Go down here, make sure you in the app folder, npm start. Hopefully no errors. And I'm going to go to the browser and see if it loads once it's rendered. So here we go. And this is what I have. So here we go. And let's close this again. I'm going to go to a different screen. This is what I had earlier. I'm going to just refresh this. Okay, so it's good. There's nothing there, which is fine. All right, so now let's go and do some loops inside. I'm going to close the terminal now. I don't need this anymore. I can close this. And inside the loop here. All right, so, and let me turn off this sign as well. Okay, so very simple one. And say that I have some data here in the class space, and I'll call it, I don't know, just some numbers. Okay. Is going to be an array of data. So you put some numbers in here, whatever it is. Okay. Now you can render this directly inside here, JSX. So inside here, you would do something like this. And let me use a UL. Well, yeah, UL. And I need to style it because I don't want the dot stuff. So again, I want the list style type to be none. I don't want the dots, just the numbers. Okay, and then here is you want to loop the LIs. So you put that inside the curly braces, right? So here you follow the same for loop. Now, if you're using a template or inside the JSX here, the only one that works is just the map. Okay, you cannot use for loop, or you cannot use the for each loop either because they don't return data back, right? So only the map does return it. So you need something that return return an element or a view to this particular tag location here, right? So for that case, the map only works. And I'll show you later how you can use the for in regular for each and for loop outside of this. But for now, inside here, you would do something like this dot number. I'm using this because it's a class, right? And then you use the map and then you would use the arrow function. You pass in the number for every n, for example, and also pass the index. I call it I. Okay, and the arrow function. And you can do it this way, or you can just do one line. That's fine too, because we're basically going to render the li. Li inside here. Remember, you wrap with the n and return the n. Okay, if I just do that, the n is the actual value. So these numbers, the I is the index. So 0, 1, 2, and 3, and so on. Okay, if I save this and go to the view, it should render. If it's not, maybe some errors. Go into the solve expression. Okay, so yeah, that is not correct. It's line 12. 12. Okay, so once I put in curly braces like this, okay, you have to return it, right? Remember, you have to return that back. You can put a curly, parenthesis if you want. You don't have to if it's a single line, but I put it here so you can see it. So if I save that again, you have to return that back. And that's why the map returns it, others do not. So here are the numbers that have been returned through the map. Okay, so it works pretty nicely. Now, of course, since we're only returning one piece of the data, I showed you don't have to use it. You can use just like that. Or you can just basically remove the curlies and remove the return altogether and just use the arrow like this and remove all of these here just like that, right? The map function. So this is another shortcut to do that for you. So it makes one code less. But if you pass two parameters, you have to wrap it. If just one, then you can just put n here like that too, and that's fine because it's the regular for map loop. Okay. The reason why I pass I here is because of all. So let me save this, and if I go back, it should still work. Okay. So we refresh this. I'm going to press F12 and inspect this code. And in the console, you see that there's a message saying each child in a list should have a unique key prop. Okay, what this means is that every time you render a list like this to the view, you notice that if I go to the element, I have LIs like this, right? So in order for React to track these elements efficiently, you have to assign a unique ID for each of these. That's all it is, like a unique ID or a key, so that when you manipulate some data, it changes here, React knows how to track which one is it. Because right now it's like, which one, right? So you get that error. They make it more efficiently. Of course, it still does it, but to be really efficient, you have to make sure you pass in a key. And so if you have a key, think of a key like the key of a table of a column, a field, like your primary key, or in this case, a unique key. In this case, it would be the index. That's why it's unique in this case. Okay, so what you do is then you can pass to the li here. You pass in an attribute called key. You assign a key attribute, and you pass in the I here. So you make that unique. So if I save that again and go back to the view and run it, refresh it again, and you clear my list so that you see that now error goes away. Okay, and if I look at the view, okay, you see that it's not shown here. Of course, you don't see it. It's not an ID. It's just something that React uses to track each of these components. All right, so that's how you do it using the map. And if you go and change this to the for instead of map, you say forEach. Of course, the syntax is exactly the same. Only thing is that forEach does not return. This way, the way we did here, we don't see the return statement. Really, it returns this whole part here. And it doesn't matter if you do or not inside the forEach loop, it won't return anything back because that's how forEach works. It does not return data. So if you save it, go to the view, you see that nothing gets rendered, and there should be no error either because it's not really doing anything there except you get nothing there. Okay, because the UL is just blank. If you look inside the code here, nothing shown here, but if you look inside the body, you're going to see, you should see a UL with no data. As you can see here, the UL is still when we hard-coded that in, but it doesn't return any data. Okay, so that's why the map is need to be used inside here if you're rendering right inside the template. Now, another way you can do is you can render this, you can build this view outside of the return statement here and then just print it in here. So you can do it outside here, for example. I can do something like, you know, li is equal to, I could put this, it was a map before, right? Put a map here. Okay. I can copy this and put it here. Okay. Build that list, add it to li's, and then, well, actually can't do it this way. I have to say, because I'm returning a list, so I'm going to do it differently. I do something like different. Let's say li is equal to a list. That's the empty list, and then I'm going to push it, right? So push into the list, that list. I know, a little confusing, but I'm pushing let's say no, CLI list. I push the numbers map of the li. What should I do it right? The map, and then the other one. Let's see here. Well, I think yeah, maybe this guy. Yeah, I can't use this in there because this is not. I'm in the class space, right? So I can use this. So let's see, numbers, the map, pass in the maps to variable here, and then I can. Why is this not working? Let's see. If I try this, okay, let me start over. So li push. I can push it. Why is that? Oh, okay, I'm not pushing anything. Okay, I'm not pushing anything. I'm just building the list here. All right, so even I get confused. All right, let's do this again. I'm gonna go back to what I had earlier. So really, I don't need to push anything because you know what this map does. I forgot all about map is that it returns. You know, actually, it turns an array already. So a list already. So that means I just basically assign that to equal that, and that should work. Okay, I'm not gonna build it because the map returns a list already, and so they allow me a list of all these elements in there. All right, so okay, so if I do that, then now I can just basically put this li inside here. Okay, so I build it outside of the template, and I put it inside here, and just put some extra numbers to just make sure it's working. Save that, go to the view, and I get some error because number is not defined. Okay, so line 6, let's fix that again. Numbers. Okay, well, maybe I do this. Numbers, no. Save again. Same thing, li. Yeah, so I can't use it because I have to define it first. Let's see. This li. I keep forgetting because it's a class. Okay, it's a class, it's not a function. So I keep forgetting the this keyword there that many times. Just make sure you put it in the right place to get the correct numbers and so on. Okay, here we go. All right, so we got it back, and the console here has shouldn't have any error. This is the previous one. If I render again, and here we go. So I press these numbers here, new numbers, and then the li looks just fine. Okay, so we got that working, and so I've used the same map here, except I did it outside of the template, and I just pass that in. So using the map. Of course, if you use a for loop, you can do the same thing, except you do a little bit differently. So now, if you use a for loop, I would have to pre-declare this li as an empty list. So this is what I wanted to push in there. So I would say instead of this one, I would just put something like this over here. Inside, I can't put here anymore because it's just numbers, right? Let's see. And I want to do something a little bit different here as well. Okay, let's clean this up. Okay, notice that I do not return anything here. I'm not returning a a list at all. Really for each. By using a for each in here, and I can pass to a function, and inside here I can then go ahead and all right. So to fix this bad practice here, we can't really do this in the class space, all right? So because this is a class. If it's a regular function, that's fine, but it's a class, so we can't do that here. Unless you have a function, you do that instead of a function, which is okay too. But I'm going to move this to the function, which is the render function down here. Okay, so I'm going to put it down here, and we'll do the data right here, and set it up there in the class space, and it's not ideal. So now inside here, as having li, and so if I do this way, then when we access li, I don't need the this anymore, just be li. This one here just refer to this li in the local class function here. This was the one I earlier put above here. So I could really just move this, down here. I should have done that. And then that would still be fine. Okay, let's do it this way. Okay, so now, so this number will be this number, and I'm going to loop through that number, each of those numbers, and then inside here, I'll just push it to the li. So li.push, and then I'm pushing, what am I pushing? I'm pushing this guy right here, like that. Okay, copy, paste it right in there, and I keep pushing it to the list, and when the list is built, and then I just render to the view down here. So I'm using it for each because, again, it does not return data, but I can really literally update this data here. Again, if it's a local variable, I have to say something like let, right? Or you can call it constant, doesn't matter. It's a list, it won't change the data itself. So now, once I do that, if I go back to the browser, and hopefully it should still work. So as you can see, it worked just fine, right? So using the for each loop. Now you can also do, because of this way, right, you can use the regular for loop as well, and we can turn that off and then go down here. I'll just use for let I is equal to 0, I less than the length of these numbers dot length. If that is true, then I plus plus, right? And then it said here, same thing. I push that to the li. I'm going to copy that, put it right here. But the key would be the I, and then the n here is not shown here. So you have to put here the this dot numbers dot of I, okay, to get the numbers from this index. So now if I remove those, just show like 3 again, and then save it, it should work just fine. So here we go, the 3 numbers that added using the for loop. Okay, so those are the different options you can have. I mean, once you are outside of the template here, you have the regular loop. You can use whatever you want, whatever you need to do, it's fine as long as you build this view. And once you build a view, then you can render in the view down here using JSX. I hope this is helpful. I'm going to kind of help you loop through your arrays of objects and data in your assignments.